Hello guys, it's Girl Got Game, and welcome to the Sin Collector, Repentless. This is a game on the border of a visual novel and a classic text RPG set in the world of the Sin Collector, a series of books written by Michael Golkowski. I hope I said that name right. Action takes place a couple of years before the events presented in the books, and this was made by Sylen Studio, who was kind enough to send me a copy of this game. So I thought, since my schedule is so busy, I could at least take a first look at it. So that is what I'm going to do today, take a gander at this game. The story for this is, the end is here. An apocalypse which is bloody real, bloody biblical, and bleeding mad. Nations are in free fall and at each other's throats. Brother fighting brother, children raising armed hands against their elders. Though it was clear the world was about to be annihilated, a glitch occurred, and instead of a thermonuclear megaton bomb, all we got was a damp party popper. No one wanted to go and die, you see. Even if they were promised life eternal in brightly colored advertising campaigns, people decided not to play along with the end of times. This is why the heavens sent down a newly appointed team of sin collectors, chosen by them at the top. Only God knows why and how. These mortals surrendered their lives to go hunting and executing debtors for sins committed. Taught the noble art of gladius fighting, these warriors, watched over by their supervising angels, wander the post-apocalyptic world, doing their best to finish a job so dirty, not even the mighty heavenly host could pull it off. So there you go. Pretty deep stuff, eh? Also, if you'd like more lore, you can go to here. No, not there. Sorry. You can go to help! And I did read some of this, along with like how to control the game. It tells you what choices you can make, how the game works. And then this is all the lore under Apocalypse. Like them at the top, Sin Collector, the purple, the style of iron, the power of incense, debtor, apocryphal angels, the envoy, kosher, shepherd, viscerator, proselytes, and the self-utilization claim notice. So if you want all the lore details, you can get all of that before you even jump into the game, which is great. So I did read some of it. I probably forgot most of it, but it's fine. We'll just jump right in and see how far we make it in the apocalypse. Let's go and find out what we're in store for. The end is here, as biblical as hell itself. The earth has come to a halt, stars fallen from the skies. Water turned to blood. But then something goes wrong. Some things even St. John failed to foresee. As technology has advanced, people just drove away from the apocalypse grasp. I like to imagine they drove away in cars. No one seemed eager to die. Strange. And so the sin collectors came upon the world. Their task to hunt down sinners. Something not even avenging angels could hack. My goodness, so loud. I even turned down the volume, it's still so loud. I may need to turn it down some more. We'll see once we're in game. That might just be for the cinematic. But yeah, I like to imagine that people just drove away. At first it was to have been different luminous circles, choirs, and degrees of abstraction, but they were not able to separate exactly the soul from the flesh. Just got that red. My goodness. Wow, the art in this, though. Sin Collector, open up! You hammer on the door with your hand. Okay, guess I'm gonna have to click on this. Finding this den was not easy, hidden away in the ruins of what was once a capital city of a long-gone country. Tracking down the informant cost you a lot of effort, heaps of work, and the lives of a few idiots who thought interfering with your official duties was a good idea. You got lucky. This is your job, after all. Finding those who are hiding. You're a sin collector for good reason. Open up, I said!
I know you're in there. Anikitos the First, acting in his capacity as a legally operating sin collector upon orders received from them at the top. Open up, or as God is my witness, I'm coming in anyway.
You see the peephole glass darken. Someone is on the other side of the door looking at you. Probably wondering what it is you want from them, how you found this place, and how to get out of the whole mess. It's always the same and ends the same. You get what you want. Or rather, who you want.
Open up!
This time the man you're after is called Elijah. Elijah the First. Numbered, just like everyone, according to the new register of names introduced recently by the corporate management structure of a theological junta directly responsible for delivering the apocalypse, also known as them at the top. Ooh. First choice. Elijah. Degenerate, traitor, and blasphemer, a hardcore sinner beyond salvation, therefore considered debtor. Tough to catch, but the reward for his head will surely be adequate. Well, as long as it's adequate. So I have an inventory. Wow, I got a lot of stuff in my inventory. A talent. A golden coin cast in the fires at the top. It is in essence a condensed miracle, the last chance and get-out-of-jail card in any board game. It isn't always keen to play along, but it can get its owner out of all manner of trouble, even battles with the forces of the envoys, at least for a little while. Very few people know about the existence of such things. Talents are extremely rare and almost priceless. Sin collectors are rewarded with these for exceptional achievements or receive them in preparation for combat with the meanest of all debtors. Shekel, a small silver coin, hard currency for tough times. If it weren't kosher and respected by officials from the top, it would most likely be worthless. And though most trade is done through bartering, people are keen to make use of these coins in order to even the scores between each other. Hard to say if producing counterfeit shekels is a sin or a crime. Okay, this is a gladius. A short sword traditionally issued to Roman legionnaires, now used by the proselytes and sin collectors. Crafted with care using ancient sword-making methods capable of channeling the power of purple powers, as commanded by the sin collector wielding it, and as such capable of cutting through rock as if it was paper. A truly formidable weapon, one of the few things that can hurt and kill envoys, intended by the conductors of the apocalypse to be the basic tool of the sin collector's trade, capable of striking fear into enemy hearts, and very rightly so. Hand-drawn map, not too precise, but better than nothing. It will help you get around the old capital city. In the past, maps were drawn as lists of districts to pass through. Drawing things from a bird's-eye perspective is a relatively new idea. As long as you use kosher materials, you shouldn't have any problems. One of the good things about the apocalypse is that you at least know which way is west because the sun is always hanging over the horizon. Well, hooray for the apocalypse. Oh my goodness, bag for clay tablets. Bag for clay tablets with clay notices calling for self-utilization. In spite of appearances, chasing debtors is not the only task debt collectors must complete. The top, in all its perfect perfectionism, decided that people must surely want to attend the court of final judgment. They just sort of forgot where to get to. This is why debt collectors have been assigned this noble task of being the bearers of the good news, who with embarrassment deliver useless tablets calling for people to commit suicide. Handing someone a notice of utilization is a very elegant and polite way of saying, kill yourself. Alright. Very friendly. Needle, one of the oldest tools in humanity's kit. Needles have remained unchanged for thousands of years, and it is harder to come across an unkosher needle than a kosher one. As long as it is not one of those fancy high-tech plastic needles some fool bought over the internet, then those at the top see no point splitting hairs over needles. From sewing clothes to stitching up wounded flesh, as well as picking splinters out of tired feet, needles are one of the most versatile survival tools for all. Another useless gift from the top. They could have just kept from smashing the world up, then there would be no need to now be stitching it all back together again. Twine, thick strong thread made of linen or hemp fibers impregnated with wax or tar. No point dreaming about modern super elastic polymer fibers. Kosher ways will have to do, which means one thing. Making things from animals or plants with your own bare hands. String as an invention is older than the apocryphal books, and as long as just the one person remains upon the face of the earth, they will have twine in one form or another with them for certain. An extremely exciting thing, so many possibilities, limited only by your imagination and the length of twine. Scrubber, a small bronze or iron body scraper, a tool especially liked by journeymen. Such a small trifle, but someone at the top thought about it and ordered us to carry it around. Overall, it could have been made better, which means unkosher, but it's okay as it is in order to scrape away bits of dirt and other filth. Beloved especially by well-built sin collectors whose biceps don't allow them to reach around and scratch the more itchy and dirty bits of their body. Delightful. A wash set. Hygiene set. The basic stuff needed to keep the body clean. A more advanced set allowing the performance of small surgical operations, removing small objects from flesh, or cleaning up festering wounds. The body needs as much care as one's weapons. Few people can afford to waste water on washing, which is why the alternative is to scrape dirt away. A sponge on a stick, a rudimentary tool which during antiquity was the height of culture and personal hygiene. In a nasty, horrid way, it replaces modern toilet paper. Most people are too proud to carry this around, but it is better than using one's own hand. This could be convenient if the top added a bucket of water to it. Wineskin, simple, watertight, and comfy to use. The kosher equivalent of a bottle is most often made of impregnated leather. Unfortunately, kosher containers don't always mean kosher contents, which is why it's best to stick to water, wine, and olive oil. Some bridgeheads set up by the top allow sin collectors to stock up on supplies, but they are so rare and widely scattered that sin collectors must manage to find liquid supplies as best they can anywhere else. Plaid, a rug for cold nights which never come and sweltering days which never end. It is useless and heavy as long as it doesn't become essential. Or on the edge of the cool reverse, or as an improvised satchel, rugs can come in useful to all travelers who have enough guile and imagination. Some people cannot fall asleep if they are not covered over with something, even if it is a cruelly sweltering day. We have a wineskin and a gourd. A sizable rotund container. Ideal for retaining wine or water. Well, perhaps far from ideal, but it does the job. Made of kosher oven-fired clay, it meets all approved standards set for sin collectors. You do not have to use it, but you have to drag it along with you to keep the bosses happy. Something might just drop in it if you find the financing for a commission. In the aftertimes, you cannot afford the luxury of a drinks bottle, be it plastic or glass, seeing as these are always mass-produced, so no way will they be kosher. Wax tablet. Basic data carrier. There was no major breakthrough in terms of writing over the ages, so the only kosher way of recording and carrying information is a simple tablet covered with wax, where markings are made with a pointed end of a stick. Sin collectors receive such tablets from them at the top, although hardly any of them ever use the item. Archaeological evidence seems to suggest that carving an image of a male member upon your unbeknowing colleague's tablet is a kosher way of asserting one's dominance. I wonder what that is. Stylus allows you to write on tablets. Simple, wooden handle, and sharpened tip made of kosher materials. Hard to believe such things were once used to record the most important works of literature. Okay, so that is our entire inventory. At least I know what I've got in there now, what I can use if I need to. What is this? Okay, this is our map. City. I guess this is the overall map and this is how close we are? Very fancy. Alright, Elijah, thank you for waiting. Do I wait until he opens, break the door down with my shoulder, or cut the lock with my gladius? I'm a patient sin collector. You begin to get impatient when you finally hear the door unlocked and safety bolts opened. The door opens a little, still held by a door chain, revealing a terrified eye belonging to a slightly balding middle-aged man. Oh right, I forgot I have to click on this.
Holy Mary, Mother of...
He gasps when he realizes who you are.
Well now, citizen, I see you are breaking the second commandment. Not nice. I am giving you an advisory verbal warning. Now, open up this door, else I will accuse you of malicious interference with the official duties of a sin collector.
Man, there is so much art. The door shut, the chain falls. The man opens it a little wider, stepping aside. You enter and look around to see a dusty, cluttered apartment with a wood-fired stove in the corner.
Come in. I have nothing to hide. But this must be some mistake,
the man asks, shaken. You go in, close the door behind you, and look around. Then you sit on a chair by a cracked window, indicating he should pull up an armchair. He sits obligingly, unable to take his eyes off the mark visible upon your forehead. You know the impression it makes on ordinary mortals. Omega Cross, burnt down to bare bone by the touch of one of the supervisory angels, indelible sign of the binding covenant and your service for them at the top. Nothing is said for a while. Eventually, you look at the man who is now unnerved so bad sweat is pouring down his face. Does he have a fanny pack? Because if so, that's amazing.
Name?
Mine.
I know my own name and told it to you already, citizen.
Gideon. Gideon the Fifth. But, sir, I ain't done nothing wrong.
I just now noticed the crosses and the crucifixion that's happening over there. Ah, but a lovely view. You roll your eyes. Why does the conversation always have to go one way? Why do mortals have to be so damnably repetitive?
In the eyes of them at the top, there is no such thing as innocent folk in the world. Citizen Gideon the Fifth, you're all sinners, the lot of you. All of you have done things to be ashamed of, and the same goes for you. Well, just ask yourself, why did you not open up straight away? Eh? Right. The innocent have nothing to fear, and control is the ultimate form of trust.
But I did nothing.
Elijah the First.
You see something change in the man's face, as if a shadow has passed across it, a sudden cramp of pain or fear. At this very moment, you know he knows. The only question is how long this game is gonna last, and how you will choose to end it.
The who?
The man asks. Be polite or intimidate him. I'll try being polite. You sigh, pull the curtain aside and look outside. You see a rubble and dirt-strewn street, covered in wrecked, abandoned cars. Some wooden crosses have been nailed to the building opposite, used to hang the bodies of debtors executed during a recent show trial.
I'm looking for a friend. I heard he comes around here at times. Elijah's his name, as I said. I believe you two know each other.
The man swallows hard again.
No, never heard of him. Maybe you want something to drink, sir. I have tea.
Tea was brought over from India in the 17th century or thereabouts. By offering me this to drink, you are hereby inciting me to perform an unkosher deed, punishable in the eyes of the current law. You must know the official regulations, right? Kosher only means items, foods and tech from the time St. John's Apocalypse was written up, meaning up to the 2nd century AD inclusive.
I'm pretty sure, tea existed in the rest of the world at that time, though. I'd bet good money on that.
Okay, but I thought that ancient Rome... There you go. Why are you dressed as a Roman?
You shrug your shoulders, instinctively reaching for the gladius at your side.
Hard to say, being honest. It was probably about choosing the most advanced civilization for the given epoch. Or maybe they've still got the Stockholm Syndrome after the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. Besides, this outfit is really comfy and practical. Soon enough everyone is gonna dress like this, so you'd better get used to it. The prefecture is planning on a series of lectures to be announced shortly. Attendance is compulsory.
For a moment, you look at the man and can't see any understanding in his gaze. He keeps on stealing glances to the side and smiling dumbly. It looks like he's not listening at all. And then I took out my gun.
Where is Elijah? You ask slowly.
This is when he pulls a pistol out from the side of the armchair. You see the move, but fail to react quickly enough. The flash of the flame, the bang of the shot, and then the pain of a bullet tearing into your chest. The impact throws you back, and you land sitting in a chair. You touch the hole in your chest, fingering the blood seeping from it, looking at the man standing there holding a smoking gun.
You idiot.
You growl, then your head falls to your chest. You see him standing there, motionless, as if not yet believing what he's done. He then moves and runs into a side room. He runs back out and begins rifling through cupboards, pulls a bag from a shelf and begins to pack tinned rations into it. He's right. Killing a sin collector is no trifle. For something like that, ooh la la! He'll be lucky if this place is not swarming with envoys any moment now. Meanwhile, you are not dead at all. It's not that easy to kill a sin collector, for you are protected by the powers of Divine Purple, which, even now, is gluing your damaged flesh together, healing severed arteries and regenerating your body. A little later, your heart starts working again. You begin breathing and can move again. You get up, moving your head side to side, joints cracking in your shoulders. You take your gladius out and move for the man packing his bags in the kitchen. Very tempted to do this, but I want to do like the white knight thing. As ridiculous as it is, I kind of want to do it and just see what that path leads me. Oh!
You're beyond salvation, right, citizen? You know the penalty to be paid for injuring a member of the Sin Collector Corps.
The man leaps up in fear, turns and trips over his own feet. He begins crawling away, using his arms and legs. You follow as far as the corner, where he curls himself into a shivering ball of fear. You kneel by him, smiling and whispering sweetly.
40 lashes, and then crucifixion. A public one in the main city square. And then they drag your dead body away and turn it into one of the viscerators. Have you ever seen a viscerator? Or another sort of envoy?
The man nods, weeping in spasms.
Envoys, citizen, are a whole other story. They only serve them at the top. Created rather than born, so to say. And there is always, and I mean always, the need for the new raw materials that they get made of.
I beg you, no. Please don't.
Elijah, you bark. Tell me where he is.
Somewhere on the other side of the river. He's meant to have some sort of foxhole at a bazaar. I just don't know if he is hiding under a new name. I beg you. I only provided him with a map and tools. I know nothing else.
You sigh heavily, knowing there is no point pressing him for more info, as he's liable to come up with all sorts of lies just to please you. You get up and look down at this damned worm. Okay, so I can't kill him. I can either explain what's going on or spare him. I don't think I owe him an explanation, so...
I should kill you now, citizen. Just in case.
No. No, I beg of you.
I said I should, not that I would. I am leaving you a claim notice asking you to self-utilize, and kindly remind you of the need to reserve time slots due to higher demand. Have a nice apocalypse.
You take out a clay tablet covered in cuneiform writing and leave it on the night table. It's obvious the guy will not comply. The whole self-utilization program was a huge joke, seeing as no one in their right mind would want to top themselves. And if they did, they would just hang themselves instead of using the infrastructure put in place by them at the top. But that is no longer your concern. Search the apartment or exit and head off in search of the debtor. I don't know why I would bother searching the apartment. Unless I don't believe his story. We'll believe him for now. You leave the apartment and go back out to the street. You finally reach the place which has served you as your base of operations, an untouched church standing solitary among all the ruins, made of red brick on an escarpment high over the shores of the nearby river. 3 large brass ring gyroscopes are lying motionless at the base of the altar. When you enter one of them, probably Alpha, fires up, glowing with purple flames, and rises above the floor. Beta, his faithful follower and wingman, fires up a fraction of a second later. Only Omega, the last and least clued up of the 3, is late as usual, but eventually he too fires up. The 3 envoys assigned to you for this mission fly up and get in line, awaiting orders. You look with pleasure at the vibrating rings, the measured noise of the dancing purple flames filling the church interior with a dull thudding sound.
On the other side of the river there is a bazaar. Elijah is hiding out there. Go, find me my debtor!
Alpha begins emitting a low, drawn-out humming and is first to fly out the door. The other 2 shepherds follow. Driven by the divine power of purple, shepherds float above the city ruins, slowly descending towards the empty streets. Lidless, motionless eyes gaze down indifferently at bones turning white among ruins covered with a thin coat of ash and dust. The rings of gyroscopes burning purple whirl in a constant, unified tempo as a trio of soulless envoys prowl through quarter after quarter in search of the smallest possible trace of that which is unpleasing to the order of them at the top. The creatures did not find themselves here without reason. Their target has just emerged from hiding, and now the loyal hounds of them at the top are close to picking up the trail. Okay. I'm not sure what any of these are going to be. Emerge from hiding? Descend? Turn towards the river? Check the building. Can I make a save here? Quick saves. Help! Screenshot view. Quick save? Okay. We'll see how that goes. I guess... turn towards the river, maybe? 3 shepherds slowly float over the city roofs, in breach of the laws of gravity and aerodynamics, which do not in essence affect creatures of the higher order. The creatures pass a district of mid-sized apartment blocks, fashionable bars, and leafy squares attached to the university campus. Close to the old university library building, they slow for a moment in order to quickly scan the crowd gathered around a sizable campfire. Yet none of the dozen or so persons, completely absorbed in the business of burning books, meet the description of the debtor burnt into their memories. Suddenly, the uppermost shepherd sliding along begins emitting a low, measured humming and turns to the side, in the direction of a nearby riverbed. 2 remaining creatures turn towards him in an arc and rise, accelerating in flight. It seems the envoys have picked up a trail. The blood-filled river slowly meanders along, running a sticky, deep red. Its banks are lined with car wrecks, piles of debris, and remains of beached cruise boats, islands of congealing blood around them riddled with what are clearly human corpses. There are no flies, no scavenging animals, not even any grass left. The sun hanging low over the horizon illuminates a wrecked yet still standing bridge with its lifeless light, a procession of human beings approaching it from the other side of the river. Come closer. Ignore. Check if it is kosher. Let's check. Shepherds approach the people moving towards the bridge, who meanwhile turn their faces away so as to avoid looking directly at the tangible, physically present manifestation of the majesty on earth. Dirty, dressed in rags, covered in religious symbols, they represent nothing which might interest the envoys. One of them displays an uncertain, wobbly aura, typical of someone who had to have broken the laws and commandments of the book many times before. Yet this does not interest the envoys, who leave the procession behind and fly on towards the other side of the river, the source of a weak signal which corresponds with the one they are attuned to hunt down. Envoys fly past over the other side of the river, then return in a wide arc, leaving the bridge to their left. The rings of the gyroscopes fold into one another once the creatures speed up, returning to the point they left at. Essential information has been collected. A situation report created. Target location fixed. Time to take steps. Shepherds slowing down, turning towards a high shoreline and the ruins on the edge of the old town. They fly up almost as high as the top of the rubble-strewn escarpment. A black church stood in the middle of it, solitary amidst all that chaos. They hang suspended in mid-air, opening their rings. That's a terrifying image. You slide down the rubble pile, approaching the beings from another world with a slow, reluctant stride as they wait there motionless. You straighten your well-cared-for linen tunic, glancing to see if you have everything you need. Bag, gourd, knapsack, and all the rest of your standard equipment. You sigh heavily and reach out your hand. The central largest shepherd hums quietly, then floats towards you as if he was an obedient dog. 3 shepherds begin to glow, their rings spinning ever faster until they transform into blurry, indistinct shapes. 3 creatures move together, attuning for a moment, until the surface of Alpha, the pack leader, reveals the shape of fragments of that which was previously registered by their all-seeing eyes. You spend a long while looking at the images being shown. You see the city's panorama, then the river, and the procession heading towards the bridge. Ruins on the other side. For now, nothing special. Finally, the image of a bazaar appears in the distance, between ruined houses. Rows of stalls and wooden huts selling wares, people moping about them. Meanwhile, among them all, a creature lit with a purple glow, the one 2 of the 3 shepherds identified as the one fitting the description from the commission. You feel your heart beating faster. This could finally be it. With a hand movement, you turn off the shepherd's report. They obediently pause, awaiting further instructions. You go off to the side so that shepherds do not block your view as you gaze towards the opposite shore. Well, you're gonna have to cross bridge. No point taking a risk going mid-river. Who knows what might be at the bottom there. And then a bit off to the right, across the remains of the park and towards the bazaar. You order shepherds to hide here, in the ruins, so that they don't draw unnecessary attention to themselves. You reach for your bag, pulling a clay tablet with the commission from its leather cover. Cuneiform symbols come together to form a clear, emphatic description. Yes, this is Elijah. The very debtor you have been following for... well, it has been a long time. Since the sun stopped moving, the very attempts to think in unkosher categories of minutes, hours, days, and weeks have become blasphemous. But your hair keeps on growing longer, making you certain this will not be the shortest of your missions. My hair? Where? You sigh heavily. Time to finish the commission and claim your long overdue payment. Purple sword. You tighten the grip on your weapon and take a critical look at the slightly chipped blade. Using willpower, you fire it up, and for a moment look to see if it gives a steady purple flame. Well, following the recent energy supply problems, them at the top seem to have finally delivered a budget to meet the needs of operational field units. These being sin collectors just like yourself. The gladius, a simple and elegant weapon, or rather a tool. One does not duel with it, there being no fencing schools for such sword fighters. It is just used to kill people. As dangerous as it is useful. Sin collectors who prefer hand-to-hand combat called the art iron, and those who choose to use magic nicknamed its use incense. You seem to be somewhere in the middle of the two. Experience tells you to double-check your bag holds all the things you might be needing. Apart from the standard journey marching set, you also possess... So do I need a rope, flint and tinder, or bandages? I mean... that wouldn't be for me, because it seems like I just heal. Let's have a rope. Rope. One of the oldest tools in the world, allowing you to climb, descend, tie up, hang things such as other people, and ultimately your own self. Can I read about rope? Is it actually in my inventory? Yes. Hemp, jute, or linen rope. Definitely kosher. One of the first things humanity invented, essential for survival. As civilized progress moved on, humankind began doing that which it knows best. Taking something well known and improving it endlessly. Them at the top really don't approve of this, so it is always best to check what materials and methods were used in producing ropes. The difference between hand-woven and machine-produced rope is that the proselytes might hang you for the latter from the former. Ah. Grand. The last commission was some time ago, and the money received in payment spent ages back. Yet our Lord God looks after those who look after themselves, so you never head out without appropriate supplies. You are strong of will and prayer, but it is much easier to break a neck when the body's fed and strong. I must trust in a higher power. Alright, let's look at our food. Kosher food rations made in accordance with Old Testament rules. No pork, no artificial coloring, sweeteners, no fruits, too new or too old. The Book of Repeat laws are filled with such rules. Most people have no real idea what is considered to be good and what is bad to the envoys. The general rule is that everything which is natural and can be grown by ordinary folk is good. It's always best to have some food with you. Many a donkey can be swayed by having a carrot dangled before its nose. Who doesn't love carrots? Water, cereals, dried meats, cake. Might not be too tasty, but fills your belly and is kosher safe. I mean, it's cake. Gotta like cake. Come on. You leave the shepherds recharging in the empty church, setting off alone. No one has lived here for a long time. The mess is evidence that the first wave of envoys passed through here as early the before times changed into the after times. Houses leveled to the ground, wide radius area destruction magic. Yep, back then one didn't have to budget for anything. The heavenly bookkeeping paying out advance payments for everything. You climb up onto what might be the remains of a rubble barricade blocking the road, covered in bullet shells, walls holed by gunfire. Yes, someone tried to dig in and defend this place. But who? Who from? When? You stand on the top, look down an alley, and then carefully slide down a pile of rubbish and rubble. Hobnailed sandals scrape against bricks, sliding along tin roof tiles. You try to balance with your hands, but it is not easy. Maybe you should have chosen a longer, though more comfortable route around, down broader streets. Though now it's too late to whine about it. Ow. Finally, you lose balance and go flying down like a sack of lead. It hurts when you smack a knee into a piece of wall, ripping some skin from your forearm, trying to protect your face from impact. You scramble to your feet, swearing like a damned sailor. That can't be kosher. Thankfully, the transmission lines are working. You see the scratches healing up right before your eyes. It's just a shame to lose so much blood. You're going to have to bump up your energy level or simply eat something. It's nothing. When you've completed this commission, you will ask your angel for some short regenerative leave. I mean, we brought food. Eat kosher, eat unkosher. Requires unkosher. You haven't gone that far, but seeing as we're moving along, then our party had every right to get hungry, right? Yes. You stop, sit down on the hood of a burnt-out car, and pull your food rations from your bag. You eat, taking little bites, chewing carefully and slowly to fill your own stomach. It is said that a feeling of fullness comes to the gut when we move our jawbone a lot when eating. That's at least what you've heard. Now, it is hard to say if it is true. Even if so, it changes nothing in all this mess. Contemplating views of a half-demolished world really is fascinating. If you wanted to, if it interested anyone, it would be ever so easy to now pen some really astounding poetry about how in the days gone by the first envoys fell upon a surprise city, and its terrified residents tried to put up a pointless fight. You could, but you don't want to, and there is no one to give a damn about it. You swallow the last bite, wrap the food up in a rag, and hide it back in your bag. You have a debtor to track down. You're walking down a narrow lane between the burnt-out shells of 2- and 3-story homes. Far off to the right, you see the proud, massive university buildings up on the high shoreline. It is said some large groups of hardened sinners have set up home in there, and were able to shoot dead one sin collector who came to deliver self-utilization claim notices. Though it is said that them at the top are planning a more intense purge, and that Daniel the First is meant to be coordinating the whole campaign. That's what they say. For the time being, you are here alone, in the heart of a burnt-out city which was once the capital of one of the countries of the world before. Now, in the after-times, this really doesn't matter. That's a lot of crosses. Stretching along the shores of the river are fields of cemeteries covered in wonky crosses. Crosses made of twisted bars, composed of plastic pipes and fittings strung together with rods. Smaller and larger, new and old. Ought to think anyone still feels the need to bury the dead, when the heavenly holocaust is becoming ever more widespread. You slow a little, seeing the entrance to a home which by some odd twist of fate has survived the raging fires almost unscathed. What if? Man, you could torch it? Interesting. I am curious. You carefully enter the building, through doors hanging off a single hinge. This place smells of ash, brick dust, and death. The walls are covered with rusty-colored scratches, along with hard prints which climb up to the next floor up the staircase. I mean, handprints. Hard prints? Yes, hard prints. The downstairs apartment is burnt out, so you climb upstairs. The floors are littered with books and photographs which have been pulled from the cupboards, glass crunching underfoot. Gutted wardrobes, ripped mattresses, peeling wallpaper, and plenty of scraped-off plaster. Someone was here before you, looking for treasure. The wooden floor squeaks menacingly, threatening to collapse at any moment. Let's leave. You go out on the street, turn around, and spit on the doorstep. No point hanging around. Duty calls. To your left, you leave behind a long, unused, pointless, and meaningless building which once belonged to the security printing works, giving the remains of the nearby gas station a wide berth. You think you see some movements. Yes, it is scavengers crawling about the ruins. One of them comes outside, notices you. He looks up with daring in his eyes, his hand on the handle of a machete stuck in his trouser belt. I mean, I don't really need you guys, so you can continue being hooligans. You're not bothered by people or their pitiful attempts at surviving a little while longer. Sooner or later, they'll all turn into dust, with your help or without it. You turn your back to people and walk off in the direction of the bridge. You finally reach the bridge, which still spans the river. Hesitating a moment, you finally step off the lawn, which was once lush green, and set foot on the cracked surface of the bridge. You will have to cross over it, even though the beast probably screams unkosherness for several farsangs all around. The bridge linking two shores was covered with the congealing shells of abandoned, ash and dust-covered cars. Local fires have consumed most of the machines. The heat melted asphalt, which then spilled over the edges and hangs down from the bridge like black icicles. The wagons of two trains on the nearby railway siding lie wrapped into each other like snakes. They had to have crashed head-on. Some of the carriages fell into the river, the rest lie piled up here. Yet, you sometimes wonder about all those people who led their normal, more or less sinful lives and then were stripped of them all as one. Day by day, second by second, just as if their time on Earth was less valuable than the generations which came before them. Ooh. Pity them, or they deserved that. Alright, we're going to continue white knighting. And only at times when you hope that your thoughts will not reach the ears of the supervising angel, you dare to commit the crime of thinking. One short, almost virgin thought. Sorry, you think, continuing the destructive deed. You pass by the hollow hecatomb? Hecatomb? I never heard of that word before. With sorrow. What is that? You're halfway across the bridge when you notice a procession climbing onto it from the opposite bank. You saw them earlier, but for some reason you were convinced they would turn to the left along the river. Meanwhile, with wailing songs, ringing bells, and shaking rattles, the faithful head straight towards you. Well, we're gonna have to manage somehow. I mean, if they're the faithful, I should be fine to just use the bridge. Chanting and screaming random bits of prayer, the crowd pushes on, seemingly unfazed by the cars blocking the way, nor anything else. People fall on top of the wrecked cars, climbing atop them and almost falling over the other side, as if intentionally refusing to acknowledge their way is barred by something very unkosher. The head of the procession is ever closer until it literally swallows you up. You bounce off a huge semi-naked fatso who leads the throng like a steamroller, his back being slapped with a bunch of electric cords by a skinny woman wailing her head off. They are followed by several white nuns, their ages hard to define, spilling bits of torn newspaper from plastic bags, which are then crawled upon by the chain-tied penitents upon their bleeding knees. Huh. Newspaper, huh? Not broken glass? The noise and bustle surrounds you from all sides, various phrases and prayers drilling into your ears. Hosanna! The end is nigh! Lord, have mercy upon us! May this sinful world burn! A dirty, bloodied man stumbles through the middle of the procession, tied with ropes. The rest of the throng visibly refuses to have anything to do with him, even touch him. As soon as he gets too close, members of the procession instantly shove him away with sticks and steel bars so that the condemned walks on in a bubble of his own misfortune. It is clear he has no strength to weep or moan, simply absorbing the falling blows. A cast iron stove grating hangs from his neck on a piece of chain. Someone has written in chalk upon it the word sinner. Someone leaps at you, grabs the lapels of your overcoat and begins mumbling something, but then someone else pulls them to one side, pointing to the mark upon your head. Do not touch him. His forehead bears the stamp of the Lamb. The prisoner, being led by the procession, only now sees you, seemingly the only one individual so very different from the crazed crowd. His face is transformed, his eyes pleading silently, "Help me." What did you do? The procession stops. People move aside, standing at a safe distance from you. Their faces express a whole host of emotions, from absurdly passionate, delighted adoration, all the way through to pure, unchecked hate aimed at an agent of them at the top, responsible, after all, for everything which has happened to the world. Oh, look at this guy. An old, portly preacher emerges from the crowd, dressed in ceremonial robes and a ridiculously tall head garment topped with a golden cross. In one hand he holds a staff, leaning against it languidly, and in the other hand he has a whip, in order to ably drive his herd forwards. He looks at you, at the mark upon your forehead.
What is it you desire?
Asks the old man.
Why do you disrupt the court judging this sinner? Do you have for us a different sentence against him?
How did this man wrong you? You ask, pointing at the supposed sinner.
Sinner!
He shouts loudly.
That man, no! This animal sinned against the Lord in thought, speech, deed, and desertion. He is not worthy of walking the earth which was created and given over to us by the Lord, the God of Israel. His faults are great, terrible, and mighty heavy in the eyes of the Lord.
You look at the trembling man. He lifts his head, barely able to stutter.
Please, I beg you. I was only gathering firewood.
I'm like, were you doing it on the Sabbath?
On the forbidden day!
The priest howls triumphantly.
And for this sort of sin done in breach of the law, the book condemns to death!
Death! The crowd chants. I mean, they are right. That was what the law was. If you did work on the Sabbath day, you were to be put to death. I mean, he's not innocent. He did break the law. I'll try doing this. This probably won't end well, but I'll try doing this.
Only God can judge him, you shout boldly.
The man sighs in sobbing relief and shock. He is about to open his mouth in gratitude. Then his eyes meet yours. The purpleness in your hand makes a short sweeping arc and cuts into the sinner's body, as if a hot knife through butter. Flames shoot all around, carrying drops of sizzling blood and boiling marrow. The man chokes on some blood, a single tear rolling down from the corner of his eye.
Thank you,
he whispers and then falls down dead. People look at him a while, then someone shouts, "It is done!" The procession takes up this shout, more bells and clappers audible. The parade moves on, leaving you with the dead man at your feet, your weapon still burning purple in your hand. I guess that was God's way of judging. That's a very powerful sword. Alrighty then. Swiftly moving on. You leave the bridge behind, the maddening procession and the other shore, finally descending from the asphalt back down to solid ground. Straight away, it is easier to walk when underfoot you feel a kosher surface. You pull out a hand-drawn map of the city on a piece of vellum, and so you have 3 paths to choose from. You have to think hard before making your decision. Can I examine the map again? No, I cannot, look closer at it. Where was my map? Oh, it was this. Okay. Do I want to go through the zoo? Actually, let's just make another quick save. There we go. We did make it this far. I'm gonna go along the river, I think. You walk by the side of the road as it runs along the river. In the times before, it was lined with tall trees, car parks, and huts serving all sorts of food set up between the trees, serving the sandy beaches on the shores of what was still a standard sort of river. Now all that remains of the trees are dried up, twisted stumps covered in scraps of bark, not a trace left of the soft beaches. The sands are now dirty brown from all the blood that seeped into them. The huts, stores, and bars were burnt down long ago, or else were wrecked through acts of senseless, pointless vandalism. Only the rope park is still in use. People hanging from every line, suspended by the necks, arms, legs, bent and tied in half, now twisted in unnatural angles like broken baguettes. Why broken baguettes? Why is that the way to describe this? Someone really had to go to some effort to drag corpses up there, or to force those still living to climb up there themselves. Did they clamber up there by themselves? You would not be the least bit surprised. Silence rings in your ears, pressing on your temples. Her sister, Emptiness, gapes from abandoned buildings and blows a cold wind down your neck. You can almost see the third sibling, Melancholy, cowering by the wall, head hid in its hands. Even though you cannot see any imminent danger, you tighten the grip on your weapon and look around double hard. There is little to fear here, but still. Still, we all, when visiting such places, have the sense that something could be a threat. Especially when we have agreed to sign a loyalty clause with them at the top, betraying your whole species with one swipe of a quill upon some vellum.
Indeed, Anakitos. I have to admit I am disappointed.
Oh, hello. The voice is coming from a spot where there was no one just a moment ago. You turn around and literally see the emptiness atop one of the constructions part open and then close up, solidifying and then spitting out the shape of your supervising angel.
Camuella, you smile crookedly. Is anything the matter?
With a delicate ballet-like movement, the angel descends from the top of the steel construction, then gracefully lands upon the ground. This may just be your imagination, but you cannot help sensing the earth itself groaning as the 2 jet-black feet touch down upon the concrete pavement. Camuella hangs her androgynous neck with a bird-like gesture, blinks twice, and pauses for a moment. You feel the angel's gaze sliding into your eyeballs and gently scraping the inside of your skull.
You still haven't completed your mission, Anakitos, the angel says. I am in process, you scowl, and would have been 10 steps closer to completing it if not this sudden visitation.
I killed the sinner on the bridge. I did not save him. So you could have been saved. Interesting. I wonder how we could have done that. Well, I guess there's only one option I can pick here. Kemuela looks at you with a sweet, entirely calculated false smile.
Every single sin collector is a mere tool, your angel says slowly. A scythe the Lord uses to cut down the human harvest. Tell me, therefore, why you killed that man upon the bridge.
You shrug with indifference.
'Cause this is what I do.
Kemuela shoots you a furious look, her lips returning to the natural, permanently scowling position.
Don't play clever and definitely do not dare be rude. No one is going to miss one more sinner, but you are a tool and have a job to do, understood? You are to find a specific debtor, not just any old sinner. I don't care if you did it for fun, to train, or out of mercy. Don't go wasting any more time.
I get it, you say with some difficulty, feeling increasing pressure.
Anything else? I am afraid, Anakitos, that we will be needing to call upon our shepherds, your angel says. To need...
You almost choke on the word, feeling hot under the collar.
They were meant to be mine! Yes, the angel says, shrugging slender shoulders. And so what then? Well, the strategic situation has changed. A new ordinance was issued, another reallocation of resources.
You shake your head.
You cannot now take them from me. I can take from you all I want when I want it, Anakitos.
I mean, considering my eyeballs are about to, pop out of my head.
But this isn't fair, you say, spreading your hands. Oh, you and your gift for negotiations, the angel says, but her eyes remain dead still. So be it. I will only take Alpha and Beta from you. You can keep Omega. Omega is a moron, you snort with derision. The Lord loveth all his creations equally, Anakitos. Do, however, remember that I am only interested in your well-being. The angel looks over your shoulder. And now find cover. What? Now you'd better die for cover.
Okay. Oh. Well. The shot echoes in the desolate space. The bullet flies in, whistling, hits you in the back, and exits somewhere over your second rib on the right hand. You fall to the ground, bleeding profusely. Damn! So stupid too, in the back! And yet the system instantly rises. You feel the purpleness pouring into your veins and starting to seal tissue with living fire, which will a moment later turn into flesh. Your lungs cramp with sudden spasm when you try catching your breath. Twice you tried to cough, twisting about on the ground, until you finally managed to spit out blood from your rapidly regenerating lung. You rise slowly, reach for the weapon you dropped earlier, and look around. Who dared interrupt in the course of you carrying out your statutory duties? There are 3 of them. One standing at your back is already fiddling with the safety catch of a homemade gun. The other 2 right now slowing down and stopping, uncertain of what to do. They must have expected you to be at least wounded, and they are here to finish the job. Well, it ain't all that easy to kill a sin collector dead.
He's alive!
one of the attackers say, pointing at you.
Can't you shoot straight, you buffoon?
You stretch, grinning wildly, seeing your old pals, the ones you met in that abandoned gas station not that long ago. You could have whacked them there and then. And what? And you felt sorry for the fuckers, and now you're paying the price. I mean, I just ignored them. As ever, patience and pity have been punished in the proper way. You move your head to the side, your spine cracking as you pull out the blade. This is when the ringleader manages to insert a bullet into the chamber of his homemade gun, lifting it to his shoulder. His twin companions, as if emboldened by the sound of the metal weapon clicking away, move towards you. This should be over quickly. There's no point messing about with them in some stupid dance. Oh, I could have got a pistol. I could use incense. Or I could do the golden option. I don't know what gold means, but... gold must be good, right? The man lifts his weapon just as you throw, with all the strength you can muster, your own flaming purple weapon in his direction. The weapon cuts through the air with a swishing sound, leaving behind a trail of drops of holy fire splashing around. Bang! A bullet hits your arm at the very moment your blade eats into the other's collarbone, literally slicing it in two and exiting through his back in a fountain of bits of blood and bone. The guy running at you with a machete takes a swing, but you only slide out of the way of his blow, cut him up, and bring him down to the ground. Then with a sharp kick of your hobnailed sandal, you crush his windpipe with a nasty crunching sound. The last turns and moves toward you, as you manage to reach your weapon lying on the ground. You lift it up, shake the fiery blade clean of bits of scorched flesh, and face your assailant. He looks to the left, the right, as if looking for help, then back at you. The jagged knife he was holding falls from his grasp and lands on the asphalt with a loud clang.
I beg you,
he says, kneeling before you, hands clasped together.
Don't kill me.
You approach him slowly, no hurry, your head moving from side to side as you consider what to do about him. Eventually, your free hand pokes about your bag and pulls out an already slightly chipped self-utilization claim notice clay tablet.
There you go,
you say, handing it over.
Read on.
The man takes it with a trembling hand, eyes scanning the text.
I, the undersigned holding the present self-utilization claim notice, do hereby announce and confirm that the said notice was delivered unto me in due course, therefore by having it in my possession, confirming that, being of sound body and mind, I hereby explicitly state my unhindered intention, and will be subject to...
Tearing free, he drops the clay tablet and looks at the blade of your weapon, now stuck half-length in belly. Then he shifts his gaze towards you, grimacing awfully.
But... why so?
He manages to eke out a question. What a line.
In the name of bureaucracy, fucker, you answer, allowing his body to collapse backwards.
Not fully according to protocol, but he saw the claim notice and even read through it. Camuella might just add him to your tally as a fragment of the plan you are to carry out. Whew. Alright, well that's about an hour, guys. I think I'm gonna call it there. This is an amazing game. Like, I am so impressed with the quality and quantity of the art and character expressions, and there's definitely a lot of replayability here based on stuff you pick up, what you've seen, who you've interacted with, what you've done. And this is only in just the first hour, so color me extremely, extremely impressed. Like, the music direction, the sound effects, all of it is just super duper high quality. I would definitely recommend it, and there's definitely very deep lore here as well. The world feels very well fleshed out, and there's a lot to read up on if you want to be like fully immersed in it. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, I will leave a link to the game down below on Steam. And thanks once again to Sylen Studio for reaching out and giving me a key for this. I thoroughly enjoyed the first hour of this, and excellent work with this. I'm very, very much impressed. But I'm going to call it there for today, guys. Thank you once again for joining me. And until next time, I will see you later.